and our friend Mr. My Plate, and we have another special guest with us today. This is Mr. Bones, and Mr. Bones is here to talk to us about dairy and help us learn some of the benefits of having our dairy foods in our diet, okay? But first, we want to go ahead and go through our My Plate food groups like we always do. And we have a couple examples of our different groups here too. So first, we're going to start with our red group, our fruits group. And if you say fruits, you can hear that first letter. It's an F, right? So we know our fruits group starts with F. And we have a couple of really great examples here. So first, we have one of my favorites, blackberries. And we know that our blackberries grow on vines or on a bush, and they're really good for our bodies, right? And then we have our mandarin oranges. And we know that they're really good for us too. They're really good for our immune system. And they grow on trees, right? So we know we can pick our oranges off the tree, peel it, and eat it just like that, which is really fun. Next, we have our orange group. And this is our grains group. So if we say grains, then we hear our G. So we know our grains group starts with a G. And we have a couple examples of our grains too. We remember that we want to have whole grains. So we have our whole wheat toast and we have our oatmeal. So when we have our whole grains, we know that that's a great source of fiber and it's really good for our tummies, right? So next we have our green group, and our green group is our vegetables group. And vegetables. If you say that with me, you'll hear the V. So we know our vegetables group starts with V. And we have a couple examples of our vegetables as well. First, we have one of our favorites at my house, green beans. And then we have carrots. And did you guys know that carrots are really good for your eyes? And if you eat your carrots, you can have superhero vision like Mr. My Plate. So our last group is our protein group. And if we say protein, just like purple, the color of our group, it has the same letter. So our protein group starts with a P. So you can hear protein, and there's the P. And we have a couple examples of our protein foods too. So first we have our chicken. And it kind of looks like it's been grilled. It has those grill marks. It's gonna make it really yummy. And then we have some beans. And we know that a lot of our protein comes from animal sources, right? But some people don't eat animals. And so if we have things like beans or nuts or seeds, then those are really great ways that we can get protein without having animal sources. So if somebody's a vegetarian or a vegan, they'll probably eat beans to get some of their protein. And then we get to the star of our show for this month. So we know July is dairy month for us. So if we say dairy, dairy, we know our blue group is our dairy group, and we can hear the D at the beginning of our word. So we have a lot of different dairy foods here. And then we have some foods that aren't dairy foods, but they're actually vegetables that help with calcium. So we know that calcium is the best thing about our dairy foods. And we know that calcium does so much for our bodies. So we have some examples here. We have our cheese, a couple different types of cheese. And then we have some milk. So we have our chocolate milk, which I know you guys love. And we have our low-fat or non-fat regular milk. So our chocolate milk is a nice treat every now and then, but of course, as there's chocolate in it, we don't want to have it too often, but it's still a nice treat. Our regular milk, we want to have low-fat or non-fat milk. So when you go to the grocery store with your mommy or daddy or grandma or grandpa, then you can look for the low-fat or skim milk, and that's a great option. Then we have a couple of vegetables, like I was saying, that are rich in calcium as well. So some people are lactose intolerant and they might not be able to have dairy foods, but you can still get your calcium from things like broccoli or romaine lettuce. So even if you can't have milk or cheese or yogurt or those dairy foods, you can still get your calcium and still get all of the benefits. So now we talked a little bit about all of our food groups. So we're going to talk some about the benefits, and then we're going to talk some about where our dairy foods come from. Okay friends, so we said we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of dairy and of calcium. So Mr. Bones is here because if you actually feel in your hand, if you put your hand up like this, can you feel the hard part of your hand and your fingers? Did you know those are actually your bones? And we know, of course, that right here, we have our strong teeth, right? So when we have our calcium from our dairy foods or from our calcium-rich vegetables or other foods, then we are going to support our bones and our teeth and keep them strong and healthy. So Mr. Bones is here to help remind you that the benefits of having your dairy and your calcium is that you're going to have really strong bones and really strong teeth, just like Mr. Bones. We can tell he's all bones and all teeth. So we know that he's going to be really strong, and he obviously has a lot of calcium. And another thing that helps your teeth stay strong and healthy, we know, is brushing our teeth, right? So Mr. Bones has this toothbrush, and after every meal, he goes in and he brushes his teeth, and he gets all of the food out of his teeth so they don't get stuck in there, and that helps you have strong teeth too. So we know that our calcium is really good for our bones and our teeth. And Mr. Bones here is to help you remember. Okay, friends, so we said we're also going to talk about where our dairy food comes from. And a lot of our dairy foods come from a specific animal. And I'm going to give you a couple hints with some help from my book called Noisy Farm. So this animal lives on a farm, and it is black and white and really big, and it says, can you guys guess what that is? You're right, it's the cow. So we know a lot of our dairy foods come from cows, and we can get dairy from other places too, but a lot of our dairy foods come from cows. So we can remember now, if we say moo, we'll remember that a lot of our dairy comes from cows, okay? Well, friends, thank you so much for learning with us today. We hope that you had fun with Mr. Bones and learning about some of our dairy foods and how they help our bodies. And Mr. My Plate and I will see you next time, okay?